Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Level Grinding. This episode is going to be a little bit different than what we've done with the previous three. This episode is going to be about the drama that's been going on within tabletop gaming the last couple weeks. Before we do that, we're going to go back and forth a little bit, kind of talk about what's been going on with us and our gaming the past week or so. And then we're going to jump into all the drama around Wizards of the Coast, kind of discuss the backlash, what's happened as a result of it. And then we're going to get into like a longer form tabletop RPG discussion. So if you like D&D, Pathfinder, White Wolf, stuff like that, this is definitely going to be the episode for you. Before we get too deep into that, I am Drew, once again, joined by my good friend Robin. What's going on, my friend?
Just here.
A sports. It's in your wallet. We do that every time you just say E.
I said A, not E.
Oh, it came out as E.
It was A.
Okay. Gotcha. All righty. So I guess we'll get straight into what is going to be our move forward topic here.
Hey,
right
Drew,
after the intros. Yep.
what you playing?
What am I playing? So we did our best games of the year. I am re-platinuming Aiden Chronicle Rising right now. I'm very excited for Konami to finally wake up and redrop Suikoden 1 and 2. So I am playing my Suikoden Soulsborns. That's a bad comparison. My Suiko likes and Aiden Chronicle high on the list. So I am re-platinuming that. I started last night. I am a good chunk of the way. I like 55% of my trophies are done. And it's funny because when I started replaying, I was like, I don't know if I really want to replay this. And like 10 minutes in, I was like, oh, we're just going to beat it. We're going to beat it right now. I really love Aiden Chronicle Rising. It's so good. After that, I may jump back into Edge of Eternity. Edge of Eternity is wonky, man. Like, I want to like it, and it's not fun, but it's just weird. It's weird to try to like invest myself into, if that makes sense. What are you playing?
I've been bouncing between Potion Maker, which is this great kind of life sim, farming sim game where you got a chemist who's come from the capital out to this little island town to help cure some diseases that were in it, and you explore, and it starts out with everyone in the game completely hating you because last time they had chemists from the capital, they caused irreparable, or what they think is irreparable, damage to the environment. And once you start fixing that, they're like, oh, wow, you're really cool. And then between that and Judgment, which is another fantastic game from the Ryuga Gotoku team, which is the people who make Yakuza. And in this one, instead of being a Yakuza member, you're a private eye who used to be a lawyer till you got a serial killer off it you got him found innocent, and he promptly murdered your girlfriend.
That's such a weird choice to make as a criminal. Like, oh, this guy got me my freedom. I better murder his loved ones.
He doesn't know that it's his girlfriend. He just continued serial killing.
Oh, oh, this is very. Oh, so you're like Japanese, not Yakuza Spider-Man. Okay.
He's like, I just need to kill somebody. Here I go killing again.
Uncle Ben to your girlfriend. Oh boy, here I go killing again. Oh fuck, that's great.
I'm excitedly waiting because in a few weeks I'm gonna have the new Atelier game, and that's gonna be me for at least.
Man, they're gonna get tired of. Everybody's gonna get tired of hearing about what we're playing in the next like month, because like a week from Tuesday, Forspoken comes out, and then 2 weeks after that, I'm at least going to be mentioning Hogwarts, and then like right in that, within a couple of days after that, probably I think Ryza comes out. Oh man, it's going to be a busy couple months. And then according to the leaks, Suikoden 1 and 2 come out in March. God, I hope it's true. I'll be so excited. Oh my god, you don't even know.
Still sitting here looking at this Ultimate Edition coming soon for Atelier Ryza 3. Like, I can pre-order, and if I pre-order, I can get the standard edition, but they have deluxe edition, digital deluxe edition coming soon. The premium box that has early access code for an outfit for Ryza, an illustrated B2 cloth poster. B2 is the sizing of the poster. A special clear file set of 2 and acrylic character charms. And I've been really, really excited about all that. And
I can tell you all right now. He's like, coming soon. I'm coming now.
no, I'm really frustrated because it said coming soon since they announced the game. And I'm like, I would like to get this. Please, how, when?
I would like to be coming now. Oh, man.
Coming soon.
That's
Me
funny.
too.
He's like, bitch, same.
Again, it was one that I was going to get for myself for my birthday, and now it's coming out after my birthday.
I mean, at least we've got time to get it.
Yeah, between now and then, Fire Emblem Engage comes out, and I'm okay. Fire Emblem Engage comes out Friday.
Oh, I mean, fortunately, Switch doesn't really have a lot of pre-order bonuses, so I don't think we're gonna miss a whole lot on not pre-ordering that, because we're gonna be broke by Friday. We got way bigger things to have to pay for right now.
Yeah,
sadly. Okay, so that's what we're playing this week. So let's just go ahead and spin on into all of the drama. Wizards of the Coast.
Hasbro's Wizards of the Coast.
Hasbro is Wizards of the Coast. They're the same thing. Mr. Cox is a Cox. They announced a change to the open gaming license. So for people who aren't aware or have just been playing without really paying attention, the open gaming license 1 came out in 2009. And it basically broadly protected the ability for anybody with the production and publishing of tabletop games, things like D&D, that you could put your stuff out there and it was free for people to use, to make stuff, to publish. It's we got a ton of homebrew content for things like D&D because of the open gaming license. Now I'm going to have you kind of go into the open gaming license 1.1 because I certainly did not read the 15-page document. So what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you kind of give a synopsis of like what all of that hits, because I'm never going to read a contract. And that's probably why I'm in the financial situation I'm often in. And then what I will do is when we get to the next part that I would like to read in total, I will read that link. So kind of break down for everybody what OGL 1.1 said, more or less.
Well, there was a leak for it in the middle of last week that really was not true to what was going on, but was true at the time to what was going on. But they backpedaled it real quick. So
yeah, we're gonna cover that.
When they released it, they posted it as in the actual wording of the 1.1. It's Dungeons and Dragons is all about creativity, both yours and ours. Throughout the nearly 50 years since the first release of D&D, Wizards of the Coast and its predecessor, TSR, have encouraged people to build new campaigns and material on the foundation of the Dungeons and Dragons base game. And they did a lot of glad handing about how much they love their community, but this is in the original version we have here. This revised license is intended to protect the D&D brand by reducing the creator confusion, preventing bad actors from tarnishing it, and preventing large businesses from profiting off it without proper checks and balances. Apparently, these checks and balances come in the form of making all creators making a profit on their D&D work, be that at $1 or $50,000, to log their profits, product, and obtain a creator product badge for their work, as stated on D&D Beyond. This includes anyone making D&D content through Kickstarter, social media, when making any money through ads, book creations, adventure modules, and all homebrew content being sold. Anybody earning over $750,000 would have to share some of that success with Wizards of the Coast by paying a royalty of 20 to 25% of the qualifying revenue they make. But if you're earning under that, there would be no need to pay, although logging your content will grant them a non-exclusive, perpetual, irrevocable, worldwide, sub-licensable, royalty-free license to use that content for any purpose. this was what was in the leaks. This is not what they actually wound up coming out with.
Well, we're gonna cover that.
Yeah,
we've got the whole response coming up.
Yeah, and I've hit the end of the summary of what was in the leak part,
Okay.
so before the response.
So yeah, basically comes down to whatever you make with D&D, it would have given D&D access to do whatever they wanted with it because they wanted to,
Without having to pay you at all.
Yeah, without having to pay you a penny. But if you hit wild success with a D&D type of like a publication, a podcast, anything like that, once you break $750,000, which people like Critical Role, Dimension 20, they're definitely doing that. They were going to have to chalk up 25%, up to 25% of a royalty. Now, the important qualifier there that makes it a bigger deal than people realize is that's 25% of revenue, not 25% of profits. So if you run a Kickstarter and you make $1 million, but that $1 million doesn't cover your like cost of stuff, you break just even with the publishing of books or whatever you're doing, the shipping cost, all that. You break even, and now you have to pay 25% of what, so you're still going to be in debt for making the product, basically, with the way this worked. The backlash was immediate, and it was vitriolic. Oh my God. I'll tell you, I've been tabletop gaming since I got a very late start, really, compared to most people. I was 21, 22 maybe when I started playing. And this is by a country mile the most united I've ever seen the tabletop community about anything ever.
I've been playing since I was 8 years old, and Hasbro succeeded at the one thing I've been trying to do for most of my gaming period.
Getting other people to look at other systems.
Yeah, try to get people to look at other systems. Hasbro did it in a week.
Yeah, it's wild. Wild. People are mad. Big mad. So what I'm gonna do, and it was like a week of just no answers, right? The leaks dropped. We read them. We started posting, and they didn't say nothing until, and the response is recent enough. It was on Friday, the 13th. We're recording on the 16th, so it was just 3 days ago, and this has gone on enough that it's like almost news cycled out, but not quite, because we hang on to stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and read in the from Wizards on D&D Beyond. So this is by D&D Beyond staff, an update to the Open Gaming License OGL. Now I'm probably going to pepper my comments in here almost for certain, because that's who I am as a person. But an update on the Open Game License OGL. We initially conceived of revising the OGL. It was 3 major goals in mind. First, we wanted the ability to prevent the use of D&D content from being included in hateful and discriminatory products. Second, we wanted to address those attempting to use D&D in Web3 blockchain games and NFTs by making clear that OGL content is limited to tabletop role-playing content like campaigns, modules, and supplements. And third, we wanted to ensure that OGL is for the content creator, the homebrewer, the aspiring designer, our players, and the community, and not major corporations for their own commercial and promotional purpose. Now, a couple things here for me personally. The first one is just not true. So it's the D&D being included in hateful and discriminatory products. Now, the reason for that, that I say that, is that was already included in OGL 1. And the one that came out in 2009, there is a clause within the OGL 1.0 that allows Wizards of the Coast to suspend your personal use of the Open Gaming License if you're using the content for anything hateful or discriminatory. So that was already built in. So that's BS. The second one is basically the Web3 blockchain and NFTs. It's trying to make it look like Hasbro doesn't support NFTs or anything like that. They're selling Power Ranger NFTs right now. Yeah. Like you can go to their website and buy a Power Ranger Megazord head NFT. So they absolutely do that. So I think that is they're like, oh, D&D players don't like NFTs. We'll say that's what we're stopping. They'll love that. We're not dumb. And
the next one, they're the biggest company out there doing this.
Hasbro,
and they're talking about stopping the big ones. You are the big one.
You are the commercial major corporation. Like, we would like to stop you.
Small publishing businesses.
Like the next biggest one, the closest thing you guys have to competition really is Paizo. And Paizo is not a threat to D&D 5e remotely. Moving on. Driving these goals were two simple principles. One, our job is to be good stewards of the game, and two, the OGL exists for the benefit of the fans. Nothing about those principles has wavered for a second. I don't believe that WotC has had those principles for quite a very long time. So we're gonna get to. I'm gonna stop up here in a minute as well because they do some very questionable wording that kind of made me angry when I read it. Let's see. That was why our early drafts of the new OGL included the revisions they did. That draft language was provided to content creators and publishers so their feedback could be considered before anything was finalized. In addition to language allowing us to address discriminatory and hateful conduct and clarifying what types of products the OGL covers, our drafts included royalty language designed to apply to large corporations attempting to use OGL content. It was never our intent to impact the vast majority of the community. However, it's clear from the reaction that we rolled a 1. It has become clear that it is no longer possible to fully achieve all 3 goals while still staying true to our principle. So here is what we're doing. So my issue with this wording is this wording, especially that last sentence, feels to me like they're saying, well, you guys don't want us to stick to our integrity, so we have to change. It feels like blame shifting, and I don't like it. I don't like the closest competitor they would have had that would have been impacted by this is Paizo, maybe Kobold Press. There's no other.
To the records, the top 5 for 2022 were Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, then third-party D&D 5e books, then the G.I. Joe RPG, then Power Rangers RPG. So
yeah,
technically, the Wizards of the Coast product was first and third.
Yeah, it's not even close. This is clearly bullshit. It's absolutely a PR stunt. And I like the whole, like, it's clear that we rolled a 1. You guys don't play D&D. Don't bullshit me. Nobody in the Hasbro corporate office is sitting down to play D&D together. Don't use the terms like you care about the product. The next OGL will contain provisions that allow us to protect and cultivate the inclusive environment we are trying to build and specify that it covers only content for tabletop RPGs. That means that other expressions such as educational and charitable campaigns, live streams, cosplay, VTT uses, etc. will remain unaffected by any OGL update. Content already released under 1.0 will also remain unaffected. So that's like the only thing they say in here. There's 2 things they say in here that I believe, and I want to believe this one, so I'm going to include it in one. I hope that everything released under 1A will remain unaffected. I don't trust them until it's out. The other thing is a little earlier when they were like, well, we put this out to streamer or to content creators to get their feedback. No, they didn't. We're getting this. What I'm reading to you now was released on Friday, and the OGL final product was supposed to release the Thursday prior to that. And there's a part coming up here where they're like, no, we were always going to reach out to the fans. They absolutely were not. They had planned to roll it out the day before we got a response to the backlash.
Walk it back, walk it back, walk it back.
Walk it back. I'm like, whoo, man. They're backpedaling so hard. It reminds me of like when I was a kid and you could just fucking wind your bicycle pedals back. You just get that zzz. That's what they're doing. What it will not contain is any royalty structure. It will also not contain the license back provision that some people were afraid was a means for us to steal work. That thought never crossed our minds. Under any new OGL, you will own the content you create. We won't. Any language we put down will be crystal clear and unequivocal on that point. The license back language was intended to protect us and our partners from creators who incorrectly allege that we steal their work simply because of coincidental similarities. As we continue to invest in the game that we love and move forward with partnerships in film, television, and digital games, that risk is simply too great to ignore. The new OGL will contain provisions to address that risk, but we will do it without a license back and without suggesting that we have rights to the content you create. Your ideas and imagination are what makes this game special, and that belongs to you. So the only part of this paragraph that I think is not utter public relations bullshit is the the bit about protecting themselves for film, television, and digital games. That absolutely is true. They for sure need to put, I mean, any company that's making those things needs to have some kind of provisions in to protect themselves. So that I get. The license back is not the way to do it. And we've shaken the bars. They're not fans of all this. A couple of last thoughts. First, we won't be able to release the new OGL today because we need to make sure we get it right. But it is coming. Second, you're going to hear people say that they won and that we lost because making your voices heard forced us to change our plans. Those people will only be half right. They won, and so did we. No, you didn't. No, you didn't, Wizards.
Nobody won in this.
Nobody
except
won.
Maybe the Powered by the Apocalypse people and White Wolf and Paizo. And oh boy, Paizo.
Paizo. We'll get to Paizo too. I fucking we're gonna touch on that. I think maybe the community as a whole won, but not. We won a fight we didn't want. This conversation shouldn't have ever come up. There's no part of what's happening in tabletop gaming right now that we believe that like feels like a thing that we should have ever had to deal with. We thought we handled this in 2009 and everything has been fine up until the end of the year. Let's see. Here's the next big lie. Our plan was always to solicit the input of our community before any update to the OGL. The drafts you've seen were attempting to do just that. We want to always delight fans and create experiences together that everyone loves. We realized we did not do that this time, and we are sorry for that. Our goal was to get exactly the type of feedback on which provisions worked and which did not, which we ultimately got from you. Any change this major could only have been done well if we were willing to take that feedback no matter how it was provided. So we are. Thank you for caring enough to let us know what works and what doesn't, what you need and what scares you. Without knowing that, we can't do our part to make the new OGL match our principles. Finally, we'd appreciate the chance to make this right. We love D&D's devoted players and the creators who take them on so many incredible adventures. We won't let you down. So there's like one phrase in there that kind of pisses me off, especially. Thank you for caring enough to let us know what works and what doesn't, what you need and what scares you. We're not scared. We're fucking pissed. We're mad. It's not fear. It's rage.
Scared I'm about to dismantle their company.
Bruh. Like, we're not scared, my dude. Like, there have been other options the whole time I've been playing. Like, my first tabletop game was not D&D. Let me make that real crystal clear to you. You were never the only option in my lifetime, and you will never be the only option in my lifetime. I'm not scared of D&D becoming unavailable because the business cares about money more than it cares about people. And for the record, we absolutely know that they care more about money than they care about people. This response is related almost entirely to the waves of D&D Beyond subscription cancellations. So D&D was never the only option, and it's important that they know that. Like, we're not scared, we're pissed off. And in response to the OGL rumors, so this one is another one, and I'm just going to kind of run through this a little bit faster. It came out the day before the response from Wizards to the OGL outlash.
Let's just call it what it is, before the walk back.
Yep. Before the moonwalk. So this is a statement released from Paizo.com. Paizo is the company that makes Pathfinder. So I'm going to skim through this a whole lot faster. I'm not going to pick this apart necessarily. I was going to get to the end and kind of overview it, and it's a little bit longer. So for the last several weeks, as rumors of Wizards of the Coast's new version of the Open Gaming License began circulating among publishers and on social media, gamers across the world have been asking what Paizo plans to do in light of concerns regarding Wizards of the Coast's rumored plans to deauthorize the existing OGL 1.0. We have been awaiting further information, hoping that Wizards would realize that for more than 20 years, the OGL has been mutually beneficial license which should not and cannot be revoked. While we continue to await an answer from Wizards, we strongly feel that Paizo can no longer delay in making our own feelings about the importance of open gaming a part of the public discussion. We believe that any interpretation that OGL 1.0 were intended to be irrevocable or able to be deauthorized is incorrect and with good reason. We were there. Paizo owner Lisa Stevens and Paizo president Jim Butler were leaders on the Dungeons & Dragons team at Wizards at the time. Brian Lewis, co-founder of Azora Law, The intellectual property law firm that Paizo uses was the attorney at Wizards who came up with the legal framework for the OGL itself. Paizo has also worked very closely on OGL-related issues with Ryan Dancy, the visionary who conceived the OGL in the first place. Paizo does not believe that the OGL 1.0 can be deauthorized ever. While we are prepared to argue that point in a court of law if need be, we don't want to have to do that, and we know that many of our fellow publishers are not in a position to do so. We have no interest whatsoever in Wizards' new OGL. Instead, we have a plan that we believe will irrevocably and unquestionably keep alive the spirit of the open gaming license. As Paizo has evolved, the parts of the OGL that we ourselves value have changed. When we needed to quickly bring out Pathfinder First Edition to continue publishing our popular monthly adventures back in 2008, using Wizards language was important and expeditious. But in our non-RPG products, including our Pathfinder Tales novels and the Pathfinder Adventure card game, and others, we shifted our focus away from the D&D tropes to lean harder into ideas from our own writers. By the time we went to work on Pathfinder 2nd Edition, Wizard of the Coast's open gaming license was significantly less important to us. And so our designers and developers wrote the all-new edition without using Wizards' copyrighted expressions of any game mechanics. While we still published it under OGL, the reason was no longer to allow Paizo to use Wizards' expressions, but to allow other companies to use our expressions. We believe, as we always have, that open gaming makes games better, improves profitability for all involved, and enriches the community of gamers who participate in this amazing hobby. And so we invite gamers from around the world to join us as we begin the next great chapter of open gaming with the release of a new open, perpetual, and irrevocable Open RPG Creative License, ORC. The new Open RPG Creative License will be built system agnostic for independent game publishers under the legal guidance of Azora Law, an intellectual property law firm that represents Paizo and several other game publishers. Paizo will pay for this legal work. We invite game publishers worldwide to join us in support of this system agnostic license that allows all games to provide their own unique open rules reference documents that open up their individual game systems to the world. To join the effort and provide feedback on the drafts of this license, and then they provide a link to the form to sign up for that. In addition to Paizo, Kobold Press, Chaosism, Green Ronin, Legendary Games, Rogue Genius Games, and a growing list of publishers have already agreed to participate in the Open RPG Creative License. And in the coming days, we hope and expect to add substantially to this group. The ORC will not be owned by Paizo, nor will it be owned by any company who makes money publishing RPGs. Azora Law's ownership of the process and stewardship should provide a safe harbor against any company being bought, sold, or changing management in the future and attempting to rescind rights or nullify sections of the license. Ultimately, we plan to find a nonprofit with a history of open source values to own this license, such as the Linux Foundation. Of course, Paizo plans to continue publishing Pathfinder and Starfinder even as we move away from the open gaming license. Since months worth of products are still at the printer, you'll see the familiar OGL 1.0 in the back of our products for a while yet. While the Open RPG Creative License is being finalized, we'll be printing Pathfinder and Starfinder products without any license, and we'll add the finished license to those products when the new license is complete. We hope that you'll continue to support Paizo and other game publishers in this difficult time for the entire hobby. You can do your part by supporting the many companies that have provided content under the OGL. Support Pathfinder and Starfinder by visiting your local game stores, subscribing to Pathfinder and Starfinder, or taking advantage of our discount code OpenGaming during checkout for 25% off of your purchase of Core Rulebook, Pocket Edition, or Pathfinder Beginner Box. Support Kobold Press, Green Ronin, Legendary Games, Roll for Combat, Rogue Genius Games, and other publishers working to preserve a prosperous future for open gaming that is both perpetual and irrevocable. We'll be there at your side. You can count on us to not go back on our word forever. Paizo Inc. So Paizo is the company I was worried about with the OGL because Pathfinder was so heavily based on 3.5. And this response was a chef's kiss compared to what Wizards had to say the next day. So I'm real excited about.
I mean, even without comparison, it's a chef's kiss. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautifully done. It's fantastic work. Pathfinder has been my preferred tabletop for years and years and years. And then to see them double down this hard immediately with that much eloquence and self-sacrifice, being able to, they're the next big one. So they can pick up the ball and take it where it needs to go, and they're willing to do that. I absolutely love that company. They're They're so fantastic. So on the upswing. So what I feel personally, like, I think this is like a kind of a kiss of death for D&D, and like as dead as it will ever get. It's D&D. It's going to go on for 100 million years. But I think going from OGL to ORC is going to be a big step forward for gaming. It's going to be a whole lot safer for people to publish under a different license than it will be under the OGL license. I think OGL 2 is just going to be Wizards products, and I don't think at the end of this we're going to see the relevance, because for me, they've already showed their hand. They've already been like, well, we can change this at any time, whether you like it or not, and then we'll deal with the backlash after we've tried it. And that sets a real dangerous precedent for people, for a community just packed to the gills with people who like to homebrew stuff and make modules. And like, I would love for this to spin to where we can do like a tabletop podcast, but I don't want us to become a wildly, like at this point, like if we're doing 5e, we become like a wildly successful podcast. Now I got to pay Wizards for playing their game, bro. No, absolutely not. Yes, ORC is fantastic. And I think one of my favorite things about this is it's finally opened up all those hardline D&Ders to the possibility of the breadth of options that are available for other lesser known tabletop RPGs.
Finally, players are going to start being willing to give at least a look to that game their GM has been banging on about for the last 3 years.
I mean, it depends on the table. You're the GM that's been banging on for years at our table, but at all of the other tables, it's like a one-off player who's been banging on to the DM is like, nope, I run 5e.
I was literally just stealing the contents of a meme that says, thanks to Hasbro and helping all of us DMs who've been trying to get our players to let us play this new system, and they're like, fine, well, look at the game you've been banging on about for 3 years. And I was like,
oh,
yeah.
Man. Yeah. So you have compiled.
I wonder if I could get everybody to play Scion now.
You have compiled quite the list here. So what I'm going to have you do is just roll down this list. We're going to talk real briefly about a couple of the additional systems that are available. When we talk about one that I know, I will jump in and plug it. And I have got, I believe, 3 that I know of that are not on your list. So I get to shine for a second here, because this is not, in a me and Robin conversation, tabletop RPGs is not typically my shine time. So I get to do my happy dance. So run us down this list in whatever order you prefer, and we'll stop and talk about each one and kind of what the benefits are.
All right. One of them, which will be the simplest for people to transition away from D&D with if they're looking to, is True 20. It simplifies and streamlines the adventure role-playing experience. Every single thing is resolved using the same core system. All you need is a single D20 to play.
That was not even on the list.
That's what I thought. I just said that I'm adding one that's not on the list. But it was one that came to me while we were talking.
That's fair.
But then I'm a big fan of, and Porter already had to hear this, it's Powered by the Apocalypse. I go at length. Its origins start. Go ahead.
So here's where we get into our personal, like, offline arguments about Powered by the Apocalypse. Because Powered by the Apocalypse is like the name of the dice set system, yes?
Yes.
That's where the confusion comes in, right?
A game called Apocalypse World, and how it had a system, and they just took that system and ran with it.
Gotcha. So when you're referring to like groups of systems that are modified but based on the same dice set, that's where it gets confusing. When you call everything Powered by the Apocalypse, that because you don't call like D&D and Pathfinder, you don't call that D20 system. We call that D&D and Pathfinder. We differentiate the differences in how those systems work, even though they're functional.
I'm going to have to beg you. When we finish. That's right. To go into our server. I said I'm going to have to beg you when we finish this podcast to go into our server and look at the name of the folder that Pathfinder and D&D are in.
I'm sure that it is, but in conversational, like back and forth conversation, we have never, in our years of friendship, referred to those as a D20. So that's where I lump like this whole echelon of games, and some of which are more complicated than others, into the same thing, because you put them all under Powered by the Apocalypse. and some of them are way more intimidating than others.
I mean, for Powered by the Apocalypse, they're all
tiny side tangent.
Yeah.
Tiny side tangent. That's all that was.
To inform our listeners, those who aren't aware, Powered by the Apocalypse, the way of resolving everything in them is you roll 2d6 and you add if you have a modifier or not. But if it's 1 through 7, it's a failure. 1 through 6 is a failure. 7 through 9, it's a mixed success, and 10 plus is a pure success. So that means like a mixed success would be, yeah, you managed to pick the lock, but the sound of you opening the gate alerted an old woman across the street.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how all of its stuff works. And like, it's mostly a more free flow, like, game that's run. The players have just as much power to shape the game as the DM does, the GM. Games with the Powered by the Apocalypse label take elements from Apocalypse World and apply them to settings and genres. Apocalypse World itself was it's a post-apocalyptic game, as you can tell by the name. And their tagline for you can download the book move sheets and the character sheets and the MC sheets. MC is what a lot of these refer to their DM as. The tagline on it is something's wrong with the world and I don't know what it is. And you're discovering things in the world, and
that's just real life.
Pretty much.
That's way too close to real life for me. I'm here for escapism.
One of the sentences in the game, in the master ceremonies, as they call the GM, is that you're not really in charge of the story. It's not your agenda to make the players lose or to deny them what they want. Instead, the point of emceeing is to respond to the player actions. Preparation and world building are included, but not intense. Don't go in there and say this is how the game's going to go, because there's a direct warning in there that says do not prepare a storyline, and I'm not effing around. That's on one of the first few pages of the Apocalypse World rulebook for MCs.
Also, just in tabletop in general, if you're a DM and your goal is to wipe out your player characters, you're a bad DM. Don't DM. If you sit down at the table, like, this is just a side tangent brought on by like one of the sentences here. This is not applicable to like any given format. But if you're a dungeon
playing Hackmaster, their goal is to try to kill you while they're trying.
Yeah, the party's goal should be to kill you. If your goal sitting down at the table every week is to TPK the party, you're bad at DMing. You're a bad game master. You're a bad storyteller. Don't DM. You're a player. You have a player mindset. You should be playing the game, not running the game. If you're not there to tell a story, if you're not there to make your players shine and give them the chance to show off and then win, fuck off, bro. You're not, you don't belong behind a DM screen. And I'm tired of, like, I hate the DMs that like bad DMs play because nobody else wants to DM. And then people get
core thing that is you go ahead, finish your tangent.
Yeah, just that people get traumatized off of playing D&D. You're like, oh well, one of my friends our friend Will, Will's played D&D one time, and in the opening thing, he checked a wagon and got like murdered by goblins for investigating something. Like he was like punished in his first 5 minutes of a D&D game. He had a bad DM. If you do that to your players, you're a piece of shit DM. Don't play the game. Sorry, go on.
Most DMs don't punish their players. So when I say the next thing, Drew's going to point out that he actively punishes players who do this, but no one likes an edgelord at the table. For those of you who thankfully don't know what it means, that's the worst kind of TTRPG experiment, is the ones where people insist on realism, meaning that they have no in-world reason to cooperate with the party. An edgelord is someone who isn't interested in playing nice, collaborating towards a common goal, or having the party's best interest at heart. We had a campaign that Drew was running that one of Drew's at the time closest friends literally made it so that our roommate did not want to continue playing the game because of the way the guy behaved.
Yeah, so I absolutely punish those players. I hate punishing a player, but if you're if you're going to ruin like the table chemistry and the potential camaraderie at the friend group because you decided that you want to make your player a dick and that's how my character would handle it, you're going to get fucked up.
Hate to throw back to a quote from Apocalypse World again, but it says it pretty clearly on the first session sheet. Your characters don't have to be friends, but they should definitely be allies.
Right. And this guy, I have never played. I played several games with him in a variety of settings, and it has never with him not gone to PvP somewhere ever.
And like I listed off some of my favorite RPG settings for you, and you seem to be, I wouldn't say scared. You're gun shy about them because of the way he ran them.
I mean,
because you were like, it works like this. I'm like, it doesn't though. And you're like,
so a lot of
that's
them
how he ran it. And I'm like, oh.
well, a lot of them are like my experience with White Wolf is heavily dice pools. Like dice pools adjust based on like your skills. And you know, if you have this certain amount of skills in this, you get extra D10s. And I don't like to do the math before I roll. That's exhausting. I don't like doing math. I do money math because I need to do money math. If I have to do math after that, I would love for it to be as easy as possible. And to do math to figure out
that for you.
To do math to figure out how many dice I have to do the math with in a minute. Jesus Christ, it's exhausting.
Well, you don't have to do the math on the dice themselves. You just look at how many are above 7.
Sure, but I have to do like backwards math to figure out how many dice I get to roll to see how many are above 7.
Well, like I said, I have ways of streamlining that, but I'll talk you through that later. But back to the whole thing with why you punish players and what I was going off of for that.
Yeah, it just ruins table camaraderie.
Yeah,
nobody has
and
fun.
Powered by the Apocalypse circumvents this because their character creation process is also a party creation process. It's like, hey, what is the thing? How did you get involved in this? Like, what is your hook? And then we tie it all together. In Apocalypse World, they call it HX, which is their abbreviation for history. In the Avatar one, they just called it the party link. Like, it all changes. But at the start of the first session, players go around introducing their characters, then asking each other player at the table an HX question. Like, one person will be like, hey, why does your character do this? And it helps stamp out the edgelord tendencies all the way at the beginning, and it establishes connections and shared history between the characters. There's no logical reason for a character to go against the party's aims if someone in the party saved their life. Or maybe there is, but the character in question is forced to find a narratively satisfying justification for their actions, which makes for a more interesting story, and that's the goal in these. Now, a lot of these, there's Velvet Glove by Magpie Games, which are the people who made the Avatar game, where you play a 70s high school girl gang.
Okay.
There's Evil Hat's Monster of the Week, which you played, where you play a group of monster hunting detectives or like ghost hunters or hell, the Scooby-Doo gang.
Yeah.
But one that I have been waiting to spawn on you, but wanted to save it till this, is Adam Schwaninger's Peace Was Never an Option, in which you all play as a gaggle of geese tearing up the town.
I'm so fine with that. We'll try that one.
I knew you'd love that one.
That just sounds like my druid I build.
And you could also try one of my personal favorites, Mask, A New Generation, which is literally kids who are secretly superheroes. There are over 5,000 powered by the Apocalypse rulebooks. 5,500.
Well, it's felt the same, if I'm honest.
Available for perusal, and you can purchase them on itch.io or on Amazon. And there's a lot of them that are completely free. My favorite is that Kids on Brooms is my powered by Apocalypse introduction for people. I usually send them Dimension 20's Misfits and Magic. But there is on itch.io a free role-playing game called Hogwarts, an RPG, if you just really specifically want the Hogwarts experience. Burning Hearts Forever is one I love, where you just change fate with the power of your heart, and it's fully a Sentai game. There's Worldwide Wrestling, which is on its 2nd edition. It's not a free one, but it's a very fun one.
Obviously.
Let's see. Kids on books, kids on brooms, and kids on bikes.
Kids on books.
The there's Monster Hearts and Monster Hearts 2, which is a role-playing game about the messy lives of teenage monsters. Critical Role did a Valentine's Day game that had Allie Beardsley from College Humor and Dropout and Dimension 20 on there as one of the characters. It's very fun game. Monster Hearts 2's tag name is Buried Without Ceremony, but the first one was The Messy Lives of Teenage Monsters, and just that stuck in my head.
Mm.
But I keep feeling like there's definitely yes, there is. The Avatar Legends game that recently started shipping in America that was Kickstarted on Magpie Games, where Drew and I both spent far too much money on, and
mine comes tomorrow. I spent $300.
I spent $250, and that's what I got.
Spent more than 3. I spent 320.
Yeah. There's a game that's about, it's an exploitation era film game about body horror, guts, and gore. That's like not guts, but bravery, called Mutant Monster Machine Girls.
Okay.
And, yeah. These games, if you just go to itch.io/physical games, physical dash games, and /tag.-pbta, it'll pull all these up for you that are there. If you're looking to play any of them, I recommend picking up Monster of the Week. It's got a few sub games that came out with it, and it's very it's very fun to play, and it's simple, and it'll get you into the system to analyze it and understand it. There's also Hogwarts: The Next Adventure. This is just for my Harry Potter nerds that want to get that itch scratched but don't want to support J.K. Rowling. This is copyright material, and therefore it's free because they can't sell it.
Fair.
That'll wrap up our Powered by the Apocalypse. Well, there's also Blades in the Dark, which is, I keep forgetting it's Powered by the Apocalypse because it has a wild gimmick that it has in it that's called Preparation, where time has no meaning in Blades in the Dark, by which I mean if you were to come up and just, Drew, give me an obstacle you would encounter, like trying to infiltrate somewhere.
Trying to infiltrate somewhere?
Yeah.
A door without a keyhole.
All right. Okay, yeah, that door doesn't have a keyhole, but remember the other day when I was going through this castle and I accidentally leaned on the wall and that door opened? Yeah, I took note of where I had leaned. And then you would have to roll, and depending on how far-fetched, which that one's pretty far-fetched, the DM would add 2 or 3 stress to you, and stress is essentially how Blades in the Dark does its HP. So like you take too much stress and you can't concentrate, and you have to withdraw from the app. From the op, not app.
Close the app. Yeah, no, it's definitely interesting, for sure.
And then,
all right, so now that we're done with Powered by the Apocalypse briefly, what else we got on our list here?
There's a great game that was on the 200-word RPG site because it was for a contest called Fuck, It's Dracula. And like, I was hooked into it, just the simplistic nature. You're vampire hunters, and each of you rolls to determine what your stats are going to be. And it's either 3 or 4 stats, I'm trying to remember. But you roll it out, and then each player rolls a d6 to determine what item they get. Like, yeah, it's roll 1d6 for each stat. That's aggressive, comprehension, enrapture, and survive. And then the items would be a knife, a picture, some water, a mirror, a book, or a crow. And then you write down who or what your character loves the most. And play encompasses 5 phases. Phase 1, investigate the coffin that was discovered. Phase 2, return to the village and plan. Phase 3, climb Dracula's mountain. Phase 4, enter Dracula's sanctum. Phase 5, confront Dracula. And you can either have one of you be the DM, Dracula Master, or just have each turn somebody rolls a d6 and they determine what happens. So there's like someone falls in love with Dracula, bat wolves, The Mist of Sadness, a betrayal. Learn one secret about Dracula and one secret about a PC. And on a 6, it's Dracula.
Mm.
When you want to try something challenging, which is the only time you have to roll, you roll 1d6 against the appropriate stat. If you roll equal or lower to your stat, you'll succeed. If the roll is higher, the DM will write something on your character sheet, and the DM just gets to decide what they're going to do and what happens, that kind of stuff. And that's the whole game description. I read verbatim. 200-word RPG is really fun like that. There's no complex rules to learn. It's just, here's this idea I had, have fun with it. Which honestly is how I believe the whole world should be.
Well, people will get really ridiculous if we take that too far, though.
That's true.
Oh yeah, I mean, it definitely sounds interesting and worth at least one run through for sure.
I figure we could play it just the three of us some night. I went over Kids on Brooms being for the Misfits of Magic. Kids on Bikes is literally, it's Stranger Things. It's a 1980s nostalgia game that has kids on bikes inspired by E.T., Stephen King's It, and Stranger Things.
You could play D&D within a not D&D. It's wild.
That would be wild, and I would be both amused and upset.
Get your D20s, guys.
There's Cyberpunk Red, which lets you explore the world of Cyberpunk 2077, and I guess people are really loving the anime. So Cyberpunk Edge Runners. Cyberpunk first came out in 1988, and it's a series that's become synonymous with, first of all, the aesthetic of the cyberpunk genre. It's received multiple editions. Cyberpunk Red is a streamlined version of Mike Pondsmith's sci-fi role-playing game that takes place during the 2040s, so decades before Cyberpunk 2077. But this is the time when Johnny Silverhand was still kicking, and so you could enjoy all that. But don't let snazzy retro-futuristic aesthetic fool you. It's an RPG that can carry some fucking heavy topics. Okay, we're trying to keep our language off. I'm sorry.
We're not. I've been dropping F-bombs the whole show.
I don't even notice when you do.
Yeah, it's because it's how I talk in real life.
Yeah. Just like with Jason, if you don't swear for too long, I'm like, is something wrong?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't censor me for this show because I don't want, like, if we take off, right, and we get like real popular, we do like meet and greets or whatever, I don't want people to like meet me in real life and I'm like, how the fuck are you doing, man? And they're like, whoa. I don't know. This is just how I am. I should have been a sailor when I was too fat.
Right. And then Morkborg, which I've only talked to you once about, so I think you probably have no clue about it.
Correct.
The world of Morkborg is marching towards its end when the player characters enter it. Where most fantasy games like D&D want to offer their players a world where they can wield powerful magic and gleaming swords and fiery axes in order to save people. Morkborg's a little bit different. Instead, it puts you in a gloomy world where characters must struggle to survive and people may not deserve to be saved. It's an apocalyptic RPG, and it's less about being a hunter, a hero, and more about finding something worth clinging onto as the last vestiges of humanity turn to ash around you.
Oh, this is just America in 2023. Cool. I'm already very familiar with that setting.
Player characters in Morkborg are people seeking resolution, redemption, or recompense, and taking place on the eve of destruction. It has a doomsday clock mechanic that gradually makes the world a more dangerous place to live in. There are also plenty of opportunities for players to mess up, whether that be a miscast spell or misplaced sword swing, with the consequences sometimes being severe. All this, plus the roster of bloodthirsty assailants, makes for a mean RPG that I wouldn't recommend anyone who isn't looking for a depressing time or just doesn't want to have a dark experience. But I would recommend it to people that love Dark Souls, just because the whole point is just the world is against you, everything's depressing.
I mean, they already hate themselves, so how much worse can it get, right?
Exactly.
Your life is already a spiral of depression and sadness and loneliness. Like, just fucking make it a tabletop too. Fuck it.
And I've been wanting to play this one. It's called Lancer. It's a mech RPG inspired by Evangelion and Gundam and such.
Yay.
Players control pilots working on behalf of various factions who hop into powerful mechs to solve whatever problem is required of them. Power Rangers is a mech anime. Yeah.
So
Not an anime, but
the difference for me between Power Rangers and Gundam is that the giant robot in Gundam is the immediate solution to whatever the problem is. Like, oh shit, there's a mild issue I have here. Let me get my giant robot and deal with it. Well, like in Power Rangers, you have to fight first, right? That's the rules. And a lot of Gundam stuff I see, like if you take the pilot out of if you take his giant robot away, he can't handle problems right now. And there's a couple exceptions to that, absolutely.
All of my favorite Gundam series.
but by and large, most of the Gundams I see, they're like, I'm going to take your robot away. And they're like, what? No, but I'm the best pilot of my generation. Whereas with Power Rangers, you can take their morphers away and still get the living shit kicked out of you by a 12-year-old kid. Like, they're different worlds. They're different worlds. In Power Rangers, I could accept mechs because they're like the last resort. Like, oh, well, you were taking this fucking L, so you turned into a kaiju, so I have to be able to combat kaiju you. Whereas with Gundam, everybody's got a giant robot, or you're just going to get waxed by somebody with a giant robot.
Yeah, it is a big robot fighting game, but it's much more upbeat. It's not grimdark like Warhammer 40K or most of the Gundam series.
Warhammer 40K brought to you by Zack Snyder. I'm going to roast Zack Snyder one time per episode for the entire run of this.
Which is weird because most of his things aren't dark. It's just Zack Snyder's Justice League movies.
All his DC stuff is pitch black.
He only has 2 DC things.
Yeah, no, I'm going to make fun of him for them forever. Just like I'm going to make fun of Christopher Nolan for writing stories he's never read.
Next is Trail of Cthulhu. Call of Cthulhu is the one most people know, but Trail of Cthulhu is a version of it built on the Gumshoe gameplay system, a rule set designed to simulate the perfect mystery to solve. One of the most appealing things about a lot of games that tackle the Cthulhu mythos is they don't focus on narratives involving combat, which, yes, that gets a lot of people who are there for the combat to be bored, but if you're just looking for a cool game to play with your friends, this is much better because after all, there's not much you can do against a godlike being such as Cthulhu and his friends once they're at Earth's door. If Cthulhu's at death's door, I have to run away from you.
Earth is death. Yeah, if you've killed an elder god, we have to talk.
We don't. I will do whatever you want.
Nope. I have a variety of questions and a favor or 5. That's all I'm saying.
Then there's one called Honey Heist, another one that you would love. You just play criminal bears.
Okay.
The player character has 2 stats, bear and crime.
All right.
It is a free or pay what you want on itch.io. You gotta pull off the greatest crime scene in bear history. And they have drivers and the intimidating muscle. So it's a real heist game.
Bears driving cars. All right. Why not? That might as well be a thing.
Coyote and Crow. It's created by an indigenous-led team, head up by Cherokee. Fuck.
I think the word is Cherokee.
Yeah, we're going to leave this in, too. I don't want you
to
edit
I'm not editing this at all.
Designer Connor Alexander.
Yeah, we're sticking with Cherokee for the entire run of the show.
Yep, I'm here with it because I fucked up. But the RPG imagines a world where colonization never occurred, breaking free of mostly Eurocentric influences and philosophies in D&D and that kind of stuff. Their setting, Makasing, is an alternate North America that was never colonized by European settlers. Hundreds of years after a meteor collision almost wiped out all humanity, it plunged the world into inhospitable winters during a period known as Awis, and players control inhabitants of the world's 5 remaining indigenous tribes-inspired nations as they use advanced technology and a force known as Adanandi to thrive in post-apocalyptic landscape. The system uses a 12-sided dice RPG, kind of like another game that Drew and I both love. It's the Suikoden tabletop game.
We're going to talk about him in a minute.
Yeah. While the rules have plenty of depth, it puts an importance on weaving meaningful narratives and character development and drawing inspiration from North American storytelling. It gives advice to non-Indigenous players on respectfully portraying characters and stories. That way, basically it comes with its own DEI or diversity, equity, and inclusiveness book, so you don't have to worry, and no one can accuse you of culturally appropriating, which I know is a big time word that Drew deals with a lot.
Every day.
So in this one, not only are you not appropriating, you are respecting their wishes to portray it and give it the attention it deserves. It's a literal world away from some of the aspects of classic role playing that might be better left in the past with what all D&D is doing right now.
Yeah.
Then there's Ryutama, which is a Japanese role playing game about exploring a world populated by seasonal dragons. It bills itself as a natural world RPG. As you unearth more secrets about the world, you learn more about yourselves in return. Combat gameplay system is inspired by classic JRPGs, and the focus of the RPG remains firmly on the act of traveling through a fictional world, experiencing new things, and meeting fresh faces. The party, you'll inevitably encounter monsters during the adventures, but the game itself isn't geared to find creatures to kill. And honestly, if it weren't for the fact that somebody went to the trouble of making a Suikoden RPG, this would be a perfect RPG to run a Suikoden game. But the goal that they have it is players searching for sense of honobono in Japanese, which it's essentially feel good, like the characters in a Studio Ghibli film when things aren't going terrible, like just the happy, weird little things.
Okay.
I've wanted to play it for a while. It's one that I have here just waiting to play it.
There's a long list of those.
Yeah. Then we have the Fate system, which has games like Kerberos Club, the Dresden Files. Like, there are a lot of games in the Fate system. I told Drew we would go over that a little bit.
Yep.
And note, I'm saying Fate and not Fatal. These are two largely different game systems. Whereas Fate is a dynamic and flexible role-playing game built around like proactive characters that you play. It can be put into pretty much any theme. Fatal is D&D, but like if you took perverseness and real-world consequences very high in it, to the point that one of the stats you roll in there is for anal circumference.
Okay. That's a bit much.
Yeah, there's vaginal depth, penis length, all of that gets rolled in for Fatal. Fatal is, it's like fantasy adventure to adult lechery, I believe. I'm actually Googling right now. Yes, I remember. Oh, second edition has a different name. From Another Time in Another Land. But the first edition from 2002 was fantasy adventure to adult lechery. The most difficult, detailed, realistic, and historically / mythically accurate role-playing game available is how they build themselves. You had two types of threats I would give my players if they were like, because when I first started actually DMing for my, not the current group of friends, but the one before this that was my party for about 13 years, I would have two different threats for if they were too out of control or just like trying to be too edgelordy or just too drunk. They would either get threatened with, if they were being too edgelordy, I'm like, that's it. We're playing GURPS, Bunnies, and Burrows, which GURPS is Steve Jackson, the American one. His there are two Steve Jacksons who are both tabletop RPG creators.
Oh God.
But
well,
Steve Jackson,
to be fair, we have a lot of diversity in this community. It's only fair that something pops up twice.
Yeah. But Steve Jackson made GURPS, which is I'm always afraid I'm wrong. Generic utility role playing system.
I think that's it.
But he also is the he created so many games. He created Tunnels and Trolls in '76. He made, there was a short war game called One Page Bulge, which that wasn't what I thought it was about when I was younger, and was really disappointed to reenact the Battle of the Bulge.
Jesus Christ.
I was a horny child, okay? But he's received over a dozen Origins awards. You get those from Gamma at the Origins Gaming Fair.
That's fair.
And I've run into him several times, and he's very kind and generous with his time. Like,
Gotta
we
watch
went
where
over
you're
all
walking, man.
Like, I barely can keep track of where I am, let alone where other people are.
I'm just saying, you keep running into people.
GURPS' genetic utility role-playing system. It lets you go in and put any kind of theme. GURPS Bunnies and Burrows it was meant to just be like an adorable joke thing, but I once used it to run Watership Down because it fit so well. But my other threat to my players was if they were just being overly raunchy about things. I'd be like, fine, we're playing Fatal. Roll for anal circumference. And they're like, what? And I'm like, roll it. And that's when they were like, oh, maybe not. And I'm like, yeah, no. I'm so glad I didn't have a friend like you at the time.
You have weak players, buddy. I was about to say, like,
so we're doing this?
So okay, dope. Like, I would have leaned the whole way into that one. Is that your list so far?
No, I have to look up the name of a DLC for Persona 5 because it's the name of a system that I cannot find without that information. Okay, I can't find it. We'll just skip that one, but there's a tabletop RPG that's based on, well, that Persona fits well into. So instead, we're going to reference back one. And then we have Overarms, which is quite literally a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure RPG. You have these guardian spirits that let you perform over-the-top attacks, and it's a very muscle-heavy and just overly silly RPG.
But you have to talk like this the whole time. It's a joke. Calm down. Oh, fucking JoJo.
But it's a rules light game, but the things that it lends itself well to are people who are familiar with series like JoJo, Persona, Fate, Shaman King, etc. It's that basically you control two entities as one character. The JoJo one is the JoJo or Persona are the ways I usually exemplify it to people, but you could very easily use the Fate Stay Night formula, and one of you's the master and one's the servant. They refer to them as the player character in the anima.
I mean, that's kinky.
I was trying to avoid using that phrasing.
I will never avoid using that phrasing. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to be the sexually awkward one. It's fine.
Then you have more of the grim, dark kind of games that are more based on percentile rolls. You have Battlelords of the 23rd Century, which is a super sci-fi one that the characters run the gamut from humans to ascended humans, who are basically just ones that have psionic abilities, to the Scissorak, which are cat people, and I mean like quadrupedal cat people. And then there's a race I can't remember the name of, but they're just ooze. They're telekinetic, telepathic ooze.
Okay, sure.
Then you have Dark Heresy and Rogue Trader, both of which are based on Games Workshop's Warhammer 40k. Dark Heresy lets you play as Inquisitors and assassins for the Inquisitors and that kind of stuff in the Imperium of Man's Inquisition. Whereas Rogue Trader, you play as a motley crew of people who are smugglers or traders. Just, you can be any of the species that are there as long as you're not like super opposed, like you can't have a chaos person because chaos just eats people.
Right. And Motley Crue is in like a shady collection. Nobody's banging Pamela Anderson. Guys, calm down.
Look, they can do that if they want.
That's
as long as she's into it.
It's
consent
Pam.
is important.
Of course she's into it. Pamela Anderson played Stripperella on purpose. She's fine with it.
And going to games that use a lot of dice, but one like type of dice, you have the Shadowrun game, where there's literally, at least in the older editions, I haven't picked up Shadowrun 4th edition yet, or 5th, whatever number they're on. Last one I played was 2, but in that you could play an ogre shaman who wields a Gatling gun, and that means that in one turn you roll 50d6 for damage.
Okay.
That's what I was saying when we were talking about the World of Darkness games. I'm like, it's got nothing on Shadowrun.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, there are levels of complication to games for sure.
Yeah, and the highest you can have in a dice pool in any of the White Wolf games, the World of Darkness games. I should stop saying White Wolf. White Wolf's been out of business for the better part of a decade now. But they are, you can have up to 10 dice and that's it. But you roll d10s in those, and there's myriads of different games contained in each of the World of Darkness series. Like with New World of Darkness, you have Scion, you have Vampire the Requiem, you have Werewolf the Awakened, I believe. Werewolf the Apocalypse. Werewolf the Forsaken is the old World of Darkness version. And then you have Mage the Awakened. And they, each of them has their own power structures, but with the New World of Darkness, they work to balance them well together. In the old World of Darkness, if a player was a mage, they completely outclassed the wizards or the werewolves or vampires instantly. Mm-hmm. So it was a big concern, but a lot of people still prefer Vampire the Masquerade. That's how it just got its 25-year anniversary re-release.
That's fair. The only VTM I've ever played, because I was exposed to VTM for the first time at a convention by LARPers. So it's not the most solid impression you could give a system.
Yeah. What state?
Georgia. This is Dragon Con.
Oh, okay. Never mind then. I was hopeful that it would have been weird if I didn't remember you, but if it was in Ohio, I was one of the heads of the Dark Tomorrows chapter, and it'd have been real wild for me.
I promise you, all I knew is that they were playing VTM. There was no way on earth I would have remembered the title of their chapter for sure. But yeah, it was at Dragon Con in 2002. It's right before I went to Mexico. So that not a great first impression. And then I played the RPG for PC that came out a little bit later.
Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines.
Maybe.
That's the RPG for PC.
Is that the third person one?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, Bloodlines. Played that. That was definitely
the only one.
That was definitely a better impression. Not terrible.
I'll have to run some for you so you can get a good impression.
Yeah, we'll see. We've got a laundry list of shit we have to play. Let me see here. I'm going to go down a couple on here that are the ones I kind of want to gush about a bit.
Well, I'm still not done.
Okay.
I'm almost done. There's literally one more set here.
Okay.
And that's Iron Claw and Jade Claw, which they're a bit more designed with furries in mind. You play as like wolf people or horse people, fox people, cat people, bat people. And Iron Claw is like medieval Europe, whereas Jade Claw is Asia, but same universe. And you can be a king's broker, you could be a wizard, you could be a merchant. And this one uses like all of the dice in the standard array, but you set one of each of them for each of your skills that you have. So you can be like, my character is really strong, but he's not the brightest. So you have a 20 for your strength and a 4 for your intelligence. And it's very creative and fun. And I appreciate you holding back.
Okay. All right. So of the ones that are on here, there are three I'm going to touch on here. And then 2 that are not on the list. There were 3. I can't remember what the third one was. I might remember it before I get to the end.
So I forgot to go on Exalted unless you're going to.
I am not, because I don't know Exalted that well. So we'll circle back. So the first one I want to kind of gush on is Power Rangers. Power Rangers Tabletop RPG. It's its own self-contained system. It uses every version of dice for the right skills. I haven't dug in really yet the way that I need to in order to give it like a full explanation of how it works. But I've been a Power Rangers fanatic since 1993. I've never really let up. And then getting a hold of the PDFs from somebody who kickstarted the Power Rangers game and the recent passing of Jason David Frank really just kind of kicked up my desire to play / run a Power Rangers game. I think what really helps the format of Power Rangers is that really you can you ultimately do like a series of one shots and it fits the Power Rangers formula. And that's a huge strength for me at the end of the day, because everybody who has listened this far into this episode knows how hard it is to put a table together. Knows how exhausting it can be to try to keep that up. So a couple one shots, you do a one shot with an overarching story. It is so much easier to have an excuse for why one of your players couldn't make it. But there's the character progression they build. The way they do classes in Power Rangers is a little bit different than typical RPGs. You don't just pick your job. You have a role for the team, and your role determines what your color is. And now the original release is based on the first season of Power Rangers. So there is green, black, pink, blue, yellow, and red. And then white is available as a character progresses. You have to choose that later. You cannot choose white at character creation. It seems like a very fun system. I'm very excited to get in and try it. But we're putting together a Power Rangers game, which we will feature on this podcast as bonus episodes once we get that rolling and I can have the time to edit it and condense everything down. So be on the lookout for that. That's going to be a lot of fun. If you guys like throwbacks, this is a deep one. Is Rollmaster. Now, some is also got a Hackmaster version. I played Rollmaster. Rollmaster was my very first tabletop ever. So what I like about Rollmaster is it's a D100 system. But I like the way it does benefits and flaws. So there's just a crazy combination of shit that you can do with benefits and flaws. One of my other PCs at the table, I never ran a Rollmaster game because holy shit. But one of my PCs at the table, through no shenaniganery that was outside of the book, had a third arm suspended from the bottom of his chin, hidden underneath a big long Chinese man beard. And when people would restrain him, he would uppercut them with his beard arm. It was wildly insane shenanigans that happened at the table. It's so much fun. But the combat is a D100 system. And it's got open-ended rolls, open-ended high and open-ended low. So if you're 97 to 100, you roll again and add those together. But if you roll 1 to 3, you roll again and subtract it. And it's got all these critical charts. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Rollmaster is simple to do. I can play Pathfinder in 3.5 and 5e and all this stuff because I played Rollmaster first, and it's almost all simpler than that. But it was a lot of fun. Rollmaster is, though, one of those games where I learned a very, very hard lesson about Rollmaster that I would not maybe have learned in D&D if I had started there. It's my first combat. I was a paladin, and there were 3 bad guys. And I was like, oh, I've seen people play D&D before. I could take 3 dudes. No, you fucking can't. Not in Rollmaster. No. On the attack charts, there's permanent damage. I lost a leg. I lost my leg in the first combat. And then it got grafted back on by another paladin, so I had a permanent limp for the remainder of the game. What I do like about it is it does criticals a lot different. So it doesn't have a critical feature or critical fail feature aside from the open-ended options. It has anytime your die rolls a 66, something unusual happens. So I think that was a really cool mechanic to throw in there. Rollmaster is 100 million years old. I don't think they've had a new edition in 35 years. So go grab that if you like the older stuff. Now the 2 that I know, I lost one of them immediately already. That are not
on the second one.
That are not on the main list. Am I on the one that's on them? No, these 2 were on the list.
You still have one more that's on the list.
Yeah, no, I'm doing that one last because I'm gonna go.
Okay.
I'm gonna go sharp.
Then I want to before you go on that, I want to, once you finish the ones that aren't on the list.
Mm-hmm. Do Exalted before I go. It's crazy.
Oh, Exalted and another one that I sent you in the list later. It's also a Powered by the Apocalypse game.
I mean, Exalted is the very last one I have, but that's fine. So one of the ones that's not on the core list, Besom, Big Eye Small Mouth. It's anime styled tri-stat point system. I love Besom because it is a simpler version of all the other point systems. It's still not simple. It's simpler, but Besom, specifically second edition revised, third edition was very bad. There is a fourth edition that was crowdfunded recently that I do want to check out just to see if it's better. Second edition revised is fantastic. You can do anything you want to do. If there's not a thing in the book for what you want to do, there's a custom power for you and your DM to help work out whatever it is you want to do. Besom is absolutely bonkers. It's crazy. It's super fun. You want to build Goku, you can build Goku. You want to build Cloud for Final Fantasy VII, cakewalk. You can do that all day. You're legitimately limited by your creativity and how you use your powers and abilities. It's definitely worth a look. I have bought the second edition revised book probably 3 times at this point. Most likely we'll end up buying it again before everything is all said and done. It's absolutely one of my favorite systems to play in. It's very underutilized in at least the area that we live in, and that is deeply unfortunate because it's a whole lot of fun. And then my other one that I'm remembering, because there's a third one floating around in my brain somewhere that I haven't snatched, is the Hero system, specifically built for superheroes. It is a much more complicated version of Besom. It's got far more than 3 stats, but it is built to be superheroes. And like Besom, you can do whatever you want to do in it. It's all in how you word your powers. Hero system is a very descriptive system. It's very combat heavy, but incredibly descriptive. So two people can have a completely different character, but on the sheet, it's built the exact same way. It's just in how you describe your powers. I like Hero system because the dice, like, I don't typically like dice pools, but sometimes they just get real ridiculous. I played what they refer to in Hero system as a brick in one game, which was just a big, strong superhero. And I hit a bad guy with a Boeing 737, and I did 150 d6 damage. And it was the most fun roll I've ever made in my life. So if you like just super over the top wild stuff with like crazy creative ability, definitely check out Hero System. It's mad complicated. If you don't know it, it's going to take a while to learn. You can learn it. I know a dude who knows Hero System better than he knows his own mother, but it takes work. It takes investment. But if that's the kind of stuff you love, Hero System's absolutely worth a check out. Okay, you're up.
Right, I wasn't sure. So the first one I want to go over is Exalted. It's you play essentially demigods and powerful celestial creatures, and essentially the celestial hierarchy and bureaucracy of the Chinese myths, and it's very fun. It's another one that was originally made by White Wolf and is now on XPath, but it's real good game. It don't really have much to say that I didn't already say when I was going over the D10 based systems, but it's very flexible and wild. And then there's Thirsty Sword Lesbians.
Yes.
It's another powered by the Apocalypse game. It emphasizes telling melodramatic and queer stories. It was developed by Electronic Frontier Foundation, attorney April Kit Walsh, and illustrated by Kanisha Bryant. They worked out their publication with Evil Hat Productions, which are the people who made Monster of the Week, as I mentioned before, and Monster Hearts. They also, I'm trying to put words, but it's not working. The game was scheduled to come out in 2021, but there was big delays while the stretch goal content was being developed. But instead of just delaying until it was done, they went forward with production. Backers got their copy of Thirsty Sword Lesbians 5 months ahead of schedule, which is one of the few times that's ever happened.
That'd be nice. I'm looking at you, Eden Chronicle. Get it together.
Yeah, Bear and
Rabbit Studios.
Yeah, I forgot the rabbit. I was like,
figure it out.
Bear and someone.
Animal.
On May 16th, 2022, an expansion was released, Advanced Lovers and Lesbians.
Well, you can't
And
have just the simple lesbians.
yeah, the core rulebook had 5 contributing authors and 2 sensitivity consultants, so it's
Okay.
real good. Let's just make sure somebody didn't like throw in something that's like, oh no.
That's
But
fair.
as far as the hero system, that's actually our roommate's favorite game system. It only has 6 stats, so no more than D&D has.
I remember my third one. Go on.
Oh, go ahead.
So my third one is one of my favorites. A lot of people don't enjoy it. I absolutely love it. Final Fantasy D20, baby. It is so much fun. It was really unbalanced there for a long time, but it is on the Pathfinder. It's entirely on the Pathfinder system. So Pathfinder character sheets line up perfectly for everything. But if you're a Final Fantasy guy, it's FinalFantasyD20.com. Go check that shit out. Just to kind of give you a rundown. Base races, Aegel, Alra, Burmesian, Albed, Banga, Gareth, Garlean, Genome, everything. Everything from every Final Fantasy is in there. This guy, you can be soldier first class is a prestige class for fighter. You could be Noctis, his whole thing from Final Fantasy 15. If you like Final Fantasy and you like Pathfinder or the D20 system of game, absolutely go give that a look. I've run a couple Final Fantasy D20 games. It's absolutely a blast. My games have been, I like to think, fairly successful in that everybody, like if I were to just pick up tomorrow and be like, all right, let's meet on this day, and if everybody was free, I think everybody would go back. 100% worth a look if you like tabletop RPGs and you like Final Fantasy. I often forget that it's around because it's so niche. But the guy who runs the website for Final Fantasy D20 stays on top of it. He is constantly updating, revising, fixing unbalanced things. Let me double check here. Yep, he put it up. He put up an update December 27th, 2022. He's still updating it now, and there hasn't been anything worth updating in years. So definitely check it out. This guy works his ass off to make a quality product that is 1,000% free. Fantastic. Absolutely adore Final Fantasy D20. And the one I'm going to gush on, which if you guys listened to the first 3 episodes, you're already rolling your eyes, but it's fine.
Hang on. Before we get there, I remembered the game. There's a game called Picaresque Roman. It was a Japanese RPG that was known as a Requiem for Rogues, and it's a D6 type system inspired by Yakuza and Persona. It's a narrative-driven, authentic anime role-playing game from Japan about violence, betrayal, and money. And it was kickstarted and funded in 5 hours.
Well, that's a very Ayuden Chronicle move.
Yeah.
And get funded real fast.
834 backers pledged $552,933.
They needed how much?
Oh, they needed 45,000.
Okay, yeah. What was it? Ayuden Chronicles was like they needed 500,000 and got 6 million or 7 million.
Yeah,
I love it. So the one I'm going to gush on the most, I've run it before. I would love an opportunity to play in it, but I'll probably only ever be a forever DM with this system. That is okay. Suikoden tabletop system. It is complicated. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, no, it's super simple. It's easy to remember. It's pretty complicated as far as like, it's not like a hero system crunching numbers for 3 hours to make a character complicated. But it's so true to the Suikoden franchise. There's all the races that are in it are in there. Guy who developed it, his name is Matt Blois. He's been working on this for like probably 20 years at this point. He started in 2004. And his most recent update was 2019, I believe, which for Suikoden is real recent. It's like the most recent Suikoden thing ever. Play the game. If you've played Suikoden and you love Suikoden, you will absolutely love what this gives you. Now, I've been a big proponent of D20 games because they're easier for most people to know how to play, just because of the prevalence of D&D and Pathfinder. Suikoden is a D12 system. DMZ D20s, Suikoden's a D12, and it uses D10s. But all you need for Suikoden is character sheet and the dice. It's such a love letter to Suikoden. If you are hearing this and you are interested in the Suikoden tabletop role-playing game, send me an email at acottonvoice@gmail.com. And just put the subject line Suikoden tabletop. I will forward you a copy of the Suikoden book. I have
After we confer with the creator.
I have already conferred with the creator. I did this years ago. I've already talked to the creator.
I want to let him know that we're doing things again. Speaking of which,
I communicate with him anytime I do anything with Suikoden, I send him an email and let him know.
This morning I got an email about our Suikoden Tabletop RPG wiki.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Hello, we've noticed you haven't made any recent edits on your wiki this year. This is a notice?
Yeah.
Oh, that your wiki is eligible for removal. We got to put something up.
Yep, I got to go check that out. I put a lot of work into putting that up. That's got to stay there.
I put a lot of work in that too.
Yeah, I actually send me the wiki link. There will be a link to our wiki for the Suikoden tabletop game in the description of this episode of the podcast, which has clickable versions of everything the book has. I copied the book piece for piece over with his pre-authorization, but I'll absolutely also send you a PDF copy of the book if you want one.
We're not going to print you a copy though.
I'm not going to print you a copy.
Leery.
Actually, Matt is 100% cool with people printing the book out as long as nobody tries to sell it.
But Staples isn't. They refused to believe us, remember?
They did not after he sent me the email giving me express permission to print the book.
Yeah, you went back. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So if you want this, get with me on my personal email. I will send you a copy of the PDF. If you would like it printed out, I will send you Matt's personal email address. He's fine with that as long as you don't blow him up about it. And he'll give you permission to go get it printed at your local Staples or whatever. It's a great system. It's so much fun to do, so much fun to play. It's so true to the system. Even if you've never played Suikoden, and you hear how much I love it, go give it a shot. It's fantastic. If I got to play it more, this would probably be my favorite tabletop of all time, just period. There's so many versatile options. There's so many races. You get like five or six games worth of races to choose from. Different character builds that all of the characters, remember there's 150 characters per video game installment of the mainline series. And he has got this broken down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 character archetypes. I think only 10 of them are usable because he has to work out the Dragon Knight. But 150 characters times 6 divided evenly into 10 different jobs, and they all make sense.
The Howling Voice people also still needed balancing as of the last update.
Did they?
Yeah. That's why I couldn't play one.
No, we worked that out.
Yeah, that's because we're good at it. But I was letting them know.
No, so when I say that, it's not Howling Voice. Howling Voice is filled out. You were Howling Voice. The two that are not playable right now are Trickster and Dragon Knight. Like, you can read their stuff, like their explanations, but Tricksters are currently unplayable. Dragon Knights are currently unplayable. There's a whole thing for Howling Voice Gunner. They're fully filled out with a character progression chart and everything.
No, I was saying,
saying what?
I was saying balance. They're massively overpowered compared to most of the other archetypes.
How so?
It's been years.
I mean, so the way that everything like plays out is there's not like a real balanced disruption that they would have. They don't have any skills above a C+. Their weapon is just long range. It's not considered any more powerful than any other long range weapons in the game. They start with 20 hit points, gain 2 hit points per level. That's not substantially more or less than anybody else in the game. It's actually less than Knights. Same with Narcissists. Narcissists are better than Howling Voice Gunners.
I just love so much that Narcissists
Closest thing with Howling Voice Gutters, even their extra skills, I don't know why they would be overpowered.
Maybe I wasn't howling for.
You were.
The reason the first time you ran it. No, I wasn't. I remember now. It was one of the other people who no longer plays, but someone we cut out of our gaming group was complaining that he felt I was too OP because we were using me to set the system, even though I was the weakest combat character. I was a strategist, remember?
Oh, yeah. Well, it was one of the duck people was complaining, I believe.
No, it was a lizard guy.
Yeah, I mean, strategists are real good. I wouldn't say they're overpowered because as a strategist, if you're staying true to strategist and Suikoden, you should not be in combat.
Yeah, I just rolled really good when I was forced into combat.
Oh yeah, because you get a combat strategy and war strategy talents for free.
Yeah.
And then to clarify with anybody listening here and deciding they're going to play Suikoden, I have like a clarification from the creator. So it says in character creation that you get 9 talents at character creation to take. There's not including racial or class talents. Those are add-ons on top. So you can get like up to 12, I think.
I'm also good at this.
Yeah. It's a great system. It's so much fun. It's so in-depth. This guy did so much work on it, and he doesn't ask for a penny. He doesn't ask. It's fantastic. But I'm
shouting them out.
Yeah, I am more than happy to put you in contact with Matt Blois or to just send you a copy of the PDF. But it is one of the best game to tabletop representations I've seen to cover like what the series does, and what it stands for. It's fantastic. Absolutely love it. Cannot gush enough. And am I biased because of Suikoden? Yeah, probably. But if it was a Suikoden system that was not true to Suikoden, I would loathe it entirely.
And also, he's telling the truth because I don't ever let him be incorrect for half a second.
Sometimes
very quick to correct him.
Sometimes we have to argue about who's correct for a while. It's fucking a whole thing. But yes, it's please go check it out. I'm more than happy to set everybody up with any of the information, any of the PDFs, anything like that. It's a great system. I cannot gush about it enough. The fact that this man is not making tabletop games as a living right now is a crime. It's a crime because he
should be
such great work. He shouldn't be arrested. You should be arrested, Mr. Cox at Hasbro. That's who should be arrested. We already talked about that fucking asshole.
No, I was just saying for not doing it professionally.
Well, I feel like he has to get hired to do that.
Then every hiring manager.
Every hiring manager is a criminal. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Level Grinding. We absolutely loved having you here with us. If you enjoyed the show, please give us a 5-star review where you can. Share the podcast, get us out in front of other people. That absolutely builds our credibility up in the algorithms. You know how the algorithms are; they're assholes. So let's do what we can to get everybody to hear what we want to hear. If you want to support us beyond that, we are available on patreon.com/levelgrindingpodcast. If you want to go beyond that, you can find us on Facebook. And just share the absolute crap out of us, man. We love to
check out our sister channel.
You can check out our sister channel. We have any content up on it as of this recording right now.
We do for Inspire Terror.
Well, that's okay. So we have a variety of sister channels. We have youtube.com/@realinspiredknowledge. That is no content currently, but it will shortly. I certainly hope. We have Inspire Terror on YouTube. I think we have 2 videos up on there. They're over a year old. If you want to go show us some love on there, absolutely do appreciate that. Those will be getting boost ups as soon as our lives get under control. So we'll start getting more content up on all of those mediums. But, guys, we absolutely appreciate having you here with us. And until next week, make sure to stock up on your potions, update your equipment, keep on grinding.